So if you're new here, my name is Rachel Armstead. I am the owner of Proverbs and Pens, a Christian-based art and stationery shop. And today I want to share with you 5 things I wish I knew before I started my art business. So I am 24 now. I started Proverbs and Pens last year, so in 2023, but I've actually been selling art since I was around 13 years old. And even though this is my first business entity in terms of it being an LLC, it being the most official that it has ever been, I have had a lot of experience selling my art in the past at markets, online. I've done a couple of galleries, and I have learned a lot over the years of what I should and should not have done. Keeping God first in everything is the #1 thing you can do in any business you start as a Christian. Proverbs 16:3 says, "Commit your works to the Lord and your plans will be established." This is something that as a Christian you would think I would have learned and done earlier on, and that's just simply not true. I think I was so focused on trying to make it as an artist that I honestly took the Lord out of the gift He had given me, a gift not only to prosper and bless me, because yes, that is what the Lord wants to do, but it's also to further His kingdom and to bless others. But I had been so consumed and made it my identity to be an artist, to make it as an artist, that God really wasn't in it. So I was probably trying to do things out of His timing, trying to make things work that weren't meant for me. And I do think that's why it took so long to get to this point where I am today, and why I've had so many unfortunately bad market experiences and just kind of dead times in my art career where it could have been more prosperous if I was listening to the Lord. I think one of the biggest things that we do is we limit God. We think that God couldn't possibly do that big thing through me, or bless that many people through me, or cause my business to get that big. That just happens to the lucky ones, and that's just simply not true. The Bible tells us that God wants to do and can do more and exceedingly above all we ask and think. But a lot of the times we're the ones limiting Him in our small thinking, our limited imagination, and we're not allowing Him to move through us and do something miraculous through us. But the only way we get to that point where we truly believe that God can do that through us is when we're keeping Him first, not only in our personal lives, but we're submitting our business goals and our business desires and dreams to Him as well, and saying, Lord, is this You too? If it's not, where can I change it? Which step do You want me to take? How is this going to bless those around me? And that takes being in His Word and making that a priority daily. Again, it's not just in your personal life, but it is also in your business life as well. The second thing that I wish I would have learned a lot earlier on is the importance of an online presence. I do think I did grasp this concept sooner than later, and I think part of that is because not only did I love creating through different mediums like paint, acrylic, wash, watercolor, but I also loved film, and I loved cameras from an early age as well. And so I did get on YouTube earlier on, but I don't think I understood the importance of what that could mean for my business. And of course, over the years, so much has changed. So that also I have to take into account that my older YouTube videos that I used to post are not the same as now, and what I wanted to share before is not the same as now. But I do wish I would have understood the importance of an online presence and having a brand and being able to talk about that brand, which will kind of go into my third tip in a minute. But I think having a place where people can go and find you and be able to clearly read about you and your brand is super important. That does not mean you have to have every social media out there. I am a true believer that you're not meant to be on every social media. You don't have to be on every social media to be successful. So many businesses find what works for them, but I do think, especially in the world that we are in today, having some sort of online presence in the beginning, as soon as you can, and just showing the process of developing your business and having a way for people to connect with you is really important. It could be a blog, it could be a website, it could be Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, other social media platforms that are out there, Facebook groups, but there needs to be some way where you can connect with people, they can connect with you, especially when you're in person. These days, people don't want my card, they want my Instagram. They just want to be able to follow me on Instagram, see my stuff, look at my videos, and it's really interesting to see that shift and change. I do think it's important to keep the older forms of marketing in as well, but I think an online presence is very, very important for today. The third thing I wish I would have learned earlier on is learning how to market yourself and your products well. I started working at a stationery shop recently. I work part-time there, and this is the first time that I have been in retail. One of the biggest reasons I wanted to get my foot in the door is because it's something that I am learning how to do, and I think one of the best ways is to learn under people or even just to learn the industry. And something that I've realized is that you have to be able to talk about the products and the business. And this I've been able to translate into my own business, and I've been able to, and I think this is something I picked up over the last couple of years, but I really keyed in on being able to talk about my products, not being shy about talking about my products, and talking about myself and my experience. It's not just good enough these days, at least for small businesses, to make a really good product. Yes, you can make a really good product, but people connect with people. They want to know who the brand is. They want to know who you are, especially when it's a small business. They know that usually it's a one-man show for the most part until it starts to grow. And so they want to know more about you. And I think that's okay to share, especially in the beginning, because I think that's how you're going to find the target market that you want. And that is another tip under knowing how to market yourself and your products, is knowing your target audience. This is so important. I think before I was like, oh, my art's for everybody and anybody can buy my stuff. And this is before I kind of rebranded with a clear focus that I am a Christian. My products are Christian based in terms of I love putting Bible verses all over my products, or there's spaces for you to put Bible verse on our notepads, our planners, and different things like that. And so my products are a clear reminder of God's word in your everyday life. So my target market is going to be Christians, but more specifically, it's probably going to be women. I do hope to have a few things for men because yes, men use stationery, but most of the time, my kind of products I'm going to have is going to be for women. So that's really important to just kind of key in. And then there's age and demographic and all that kind of stuff, but it's important to know that and to learn that earlier on and to learn how to speak about your brand and your products, and don't be shy. Do not be shy. It's not selfish. It's not, I get that it can feel awkward at first, but people, especially at markets, I think is a good example because that's usually how a lot of us get started, is doing markets. And so when somebody comes up to your booth, clearly something drew them in. And if you want them to stay or even purchase something, tell them about your products. Tell them yeah, I actually hand sewed all these booklets, or yeah, these Polaroid stickers are actually some of my paintings and now they're stickers. That's really cool. And those are actually things that I told people, and it really did convert them to an actual buyer rather than somebody who just came up and was looking at my products. So learn how to market yourself and your products, and learn how to connect with your target market. The fourth tip I have for you guys is that taxes are important from the beginning. I know this is not a glamorous tip at all. And to be fair, I really hadn't focused on taxes until last year, and I was okay. But for a majority of my art career, I was a minor. Well, I guess not a majority now, but I was a minor for a long time. So a lot of that was done under my parents. And if you know that you're not really going to be making much of a taxable income, then yes, that's different. But I do think, especially in learning more about what it takes to start a successful business, I do think taxes is somewhere where a lot of us go wrong, or a lot of us kind of sweep under the rug, or even we're told to, because it's not important now since we're not turning profit. But for instance, my state that I live in, Colorado, is one of the most complex states for taxes. So whether I'm actually turning over a profit, if I'm doing markets in person, depending on the city, I'm gonna owe taxes to the city and to the state. So just getting in a habit of tracking your expenses, having some sort of system to track what you're investing in your business versus what you spent in your business versus what you've made in your business is super, super important. And just having some sort of system so you can look back on, even if it's to look back on and see how far you've come, I do think that's really important to implement as soon as you can. And that system is going to change over time. I don't even know if the system I have now is going to be good until tax time. luckily we're coming up on that. So whatever CPA I decide to go with, I can talk to them and they can help me for this year to really focus on how I can keep things more organized. But for instance, the bank I decide to go with has a system built in with it where I can categorize each expense. So when I go to my report sheet, I know exactly what I invested in my business versus what I've spent and versus what I've made. And so I may not owe federal taxes this year because of the thing that I have made, but I do know that I've already paid my state taxes. I've already paid my city taxes because it's required here in Colorado to do that frequently, monthly, is what my sales tax license requires me to do. So definitely learn your state tax laws. It's really important just to set yourself up for success. I do believe there's a little bit of a grace period there in the beginning because a lot of us don't know what we're doing. But again, you want to be setting yourself up for success in the future because you already have learned this skill. So when taxes do become even more important in your business and you're going to have to start paying federal taxes, you've already created a system and you've already set the money aside to do so. So you're not playing catch up. Like your business is blowing up and now you don't know how to deal with the tax side. You've already kind of understood that and you're preparing for the success of your business. So the fifth thing I wanted to share with you guys today is that patience and commitment, dedication even, is key. I think so many of us are so caught up in today's social media. We're so caught up in this get quick rich scheme that a lot of us are not willing to take the time to commit and the hard work and have the patience that it may take to get our business off the ground. Now, I do believe if we're keeping God first, if we're learning how to dream big and we're not hindering Him, that those things, yes, can happen sooner than if we were just doing it in our own will and strength. But also at the same time, God's timing is God's timing. Maybe it is a slow growth over time. Maybe that's to teach us something. There's so many different reasons why it may happen like that. But that's why it's important to walk with the Lord. But I think we need to keep in the forefront of our minds that if this is what God's called me to, then I'm willing to be patient. I'm willing to be diligent because I know He called me to it and I know it's going to come to pass because no man can shut a door that God opened. But we have to commit to that because if we decide to walk away from it, we decide to walk away from it and we're not being faithful in the thing that God has given us. And I wanted to quickly read you guys a scripture. Galatians 6:9 says, "Let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap, if we do not lose heart." So, keep showing up, keep being faithful in the thing that God has given you, and even if it doesn't blow up in the way you think, you are probably blessing more people than you realize. I know the few people that I've talked with, the few people that have gotten my products, and I've been able to share not only my experience, but the meaning of the brand, and hearing them say that that blesses them or that really encourages them is more rewarding than any dollar sign. And I truly believe that's why God calls us to the marketplace, is to be kingdom builders in many different ways. It's to bless the people that walk through our doors or through our websites and our social medias and whatever platform we have. But it's also to turn those finances back towards the kingdom. But yes, God also wants to use that to bless us as well. And He's gifted us with different things. Not everybody is called to the marketplace. I do think that's why a lot of businesses fail, is not only because we're trying to force a call that maybe God didn't put on us, but also we don't have that commitment and drive that it takes to actually succeed. Because again, a lot of us are so used to the get rich quick, and we see so many of that stuff all the time, and you have to be okay with the reality that that probably will not happen. And that doesn't mean that God doesn't want to bless you. It doesn't mean that He doesn't have big things for you. It just means that we need to stay faithful and be patient. And the only way that we're going to do that is, again, going back to the first point, is keeping God first and staying in His word. Starting an art business is not easy, but it truly is a blessing when you're doing what God called you to do and serving others while doing it. I do hope that these tips helped you out. If you like them, please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I will be sharing my journey of doing markets again this year. I'm getting back into the game and I'm super excited about that. I have a lot of products to make because we have Valentine's Day coming up, which will be really, really fun. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. You guys can go ahead and check out some of my other videos that are business-based or lifestyle-based as well. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.